Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Psalm 80 is a psalm by Asaph, and it speaks of a time in which God's people were dealing with some pretty difficult things. And the psalm is all about seeking the Lord's aid during that difficult time. And the psalm could be broken up into 4 different sections, but it's the last section that we want to focus on in our devotion today. There, the psalmist seeks several things from the Lord. In verse 14, he seeks the presence of God. In verse 14, the attention of God, the care of God in verse 14 as well, the strength of God in verse 17. And he goes on to seek revival and restoration and favor and salvation before God. And these are some very good things for us to seek as well when we find ourselves in hard times. It might be that as we are engaging in difficult situations, hard times, that we might just try to deal with these things on our own. We might leave God out of the picture and try to tackle these challenges in our own strength. But we should follow the example of the psalmist here in seeking these various things from God. And it's interesting that the very first thing that he mentions is the presence of God. In verse 14, he says, "O God of hosts, turn again now." And that can be translated also, return now. In other words, come back to us. We need your presence with us. And that should be one of the first things that we seek when we're dealing with a difficult time. The very first thing that we need is the presence of God with us. When we are walking in the awareness of God's presence, it strengthens our hearts and it helps us to be encouraged as we engage in difficult situations. But the attention of God is important as well. Yes, we want God with us, but we also want God to give attention to our present situation. In verse 14, he says, "Look down from heaven and see, and take care of the vine." Or look down from heaven and see what we're going through. Look at the situation that we're in. And it's assumed that if the Lord would but just see what they were going through, that would evoke a response by him to help them out. And that's something that we can pray for too when we are dealing with hard times. Lord, look and see this difficulty that I'm dealing with. And then he asks for the care of God. Also in verse 14, it says, "And take care of this vine," the vine being symbolic of Israel. But we could also say, Lord, I need your presence. I need your attention. I need you to see what I'm going through, but I also need you to take care of the situation. I need you to take care of your child, the one who has been born again through your son. And then the strength of God in verse 17. Let your hand be upon the man of your right hand, upon the son of man whom you made strong for yourself. Another thing that we need from the Lord during difficult times is strength, and the strength that he can provide. Not so much so that we can barrel through it on our own, but because we're relying on him and his strength to help us through it. And when all is said and done, then he would receive the glory because we only make it through the strength that he supplies. And then we want to seek also revival, restoration, favor, and salvation by God. These are things that ought to be our ultimate goal in difficult times. That the Lord would revive us, that he would restore us, that we would be in his favor once again, and that ultimately he would bring salvation in the situation. And so these are all the things that we could pray for when we find ourselves in difficult times. And these are good things to seek when we enter into difficult times. The presence of God, the attention of God, the care of God, the strength of God, and revival, restoration, favor, and salvation. So hopefully, as you do your reading today, we can focus on this particular section and use it as a model to use in our own prayers when we enter into difficult times. So with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.